welcome everyone. Today I'm chatting with Lara Zimmerman, who is the Strategic Business Development and Marketing Guru at Luna Genetics. Welcome, Lara.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
It's wonderful to have you, and we're excited about hearing more about Luna Genetics. Please, could you start by giving us an introduction to what Luna Genetics is and what you offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So Luna Genetics is a company that was founded by doctors whose mission was really to provide a better, safer, and more accurate way to provide prenatal genetic information to expecting parents. And we developed our first product, which is called the Luna Prenatal Test. And it's a groundbreaking cell-based prenatal genetic test. And what it does is that it isolates pure fetal DNA from rare fetal trophoblasts that circulate through maternal blood. So what that really means is that in maternal blood, there are these small cells that are fetal cells, and we capture those and we can do full DNA sequencing of those cells to determine what kind of genetic health that fetus is in.
Who would look into having this test done?
So the Luna Prenatal Test is available to any pregnant patient who wants to know the genetic health of their fetus. We are the earliest genetic test that is currently available on the market, whether that's invasive or non-invasive. So our test is available as of 8 weeks of pregnancy. The Luna Prenatal Test can actually be even more attractive to patients who have conceived via IVF and want to confirm fetal genetics. It can also be very interesting to anybody who has had a positive NIPT result for a deletion syndrome. Just for anybody who wants the earliest test available. It's very interesting for certain people who have cultural or religious time limits to determine genetic health of a fetus. Can be also interesting for anybody who has had a previous pregnancy or has an existing child with a trisomy or deletion syndrome. And can also be very important for parents who have balanced translocation.
Fascinating. And you mentioned that this has been developed by scientists. Can you tell us how Luna came about?
Yeah, so our CEO and co-founder, Art Baudet, has been working on this for many, many years. He was working in a lab at Baylor and just was extremely determined to figure out how to do this. It's been known for quite a few decades that trophoblasts are very likely floating around in maternal blood. It's just that the tools and processes to extract them were not quite available. And so with his persistence and with the evolution of technology, he has been able to find this. And so a few years ago, he left Baylor College of Medicine to pursue this full time and to really bring this to the public. It's really the future of prenatal testing, and we're hoping that it's going to become the gold standard because it's quite a lot better than the current standard, at least we think.
Is there any other test available out there with the same developments, with the same accuracy?
The current prenatal genetic testing market consists of NIPT, which is non-invasive prenatal testing. That's through a blood sample, and it's usually available between 10 to 12 weeks of pregnancy. That looks at what's called cell-free DNA, whereas what we do is whole cell or cell-based DNA. So that means that there are DNA fragments of fetal cells circulating in maternal blood. So the information that they extract, well, it's pretty good information because it's not the whole DNA. They are just getting fragments of that information and making a best guess. There's also chorionic villus sampling. So that is a test that happens also between 10 and 12 weeks of pregnancy, but it goes through the placenta. And then amniocentesis, which is kind of the gold standard. It's the one that delivers kind of the highest accuracy of information. That is also through the placenta and happens between 16 to 20 weeks, so well into the second trimester of pregnancy.
And what would you say are the advantages of testing earlier at the 8-week mark for people who want to know more about the health of their baby?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of benefits that can be derived from testing earlier. I think one of them is I think everybody wants to know as early as possible whether or not the fetus that they're carrying is viable, if it's healthy, what to expect, if the pregnancy continues, could there be health implications for the mother. I think everybody knows that the earlier we can do this, the better. The other thing, particularly for the testing landscape, is that if we can test at 8 weeks with our test, you get results back within 9 to 10 weeks. You're still within the window of getting chorionic villus sampling if you do want to do a second opinion. So if a result from Luna comes back positive and you say, you and your doctor say, hey, we still want to test and get a second opinion with another test, chorionic villus sampling is still available. Whereas with NIPT, because it happens within the same week range as chorionic villus sampling, that is no longer available as an option to a pregnant patient, and they therefore have to wait for amniocentesis up until that 16 to 20 weeks. And that basically 6 to 10 weeks of wait time can just be the biggest agony that anybody goes through. So we feel very excited that we could offer something a little bit different there and really reduce all of that wait time and really bring all of that testing into the first trimester.
Is there any danger to the fetus at that stage with the testing?
Luna has absolutely no risk to the fetus. It is a blood sample, so we just extract maternal blood and we can give results within 10 to 14 days.
Which is unlike other tests that you've mentioned further down the line where there can be an association with loss.
Correct. Yes, so chorionic villus sampling and amniocentesis, while the percentage likelihood is relatively low, it tends to be about 1 in 500 or 1 in 900, if I'm not mistaken, that you might trigger what's called a pregnancy, procedure-related pregnancy loss. So we have 0% chance of that because it's a blood sample.
That's really reassuring to hear, so people understand how this testing works. Where is the Luna test available?
So the Luna test is available anywhere that can send a blood sample to the United States within 48 hours. So we require a blood sample to be shipped to our lab. It's in Texas. And we just need that blood sample to be available to us within 48 hours.
So for anyone who's watching now and they're interested in finding out more about testing and they're in early stages of pregnancy or even having, let's say, fertility treatment and thinking this is something that I might like to explore should we get a successful outcome with our IVF, for example, how can people go about seeking the test and starting that ball rolling?
Yeah, so you can always reach out to us. Our email address is inquiries@lunagenetics.com. You can also find us on our website, lunagenetics.com. And there's a form that you can fill out. I'm the person that receives all of those form inquiries, so it is me. And we can definitely discuss what you're interested in, how much more you want to learn, and we can definitely start that conversation. We do offer genetic counseling services to anybody who would like to order the test either with their doctor and their doctor doesn't provide genetic counseling services, or sometimes because the test is so early, some patients have not yet seen their OBGYN. And so while we cannot order the test ourselves, right, there's a conflict of interest there. While we cannot order the test ourselves, as long as an ordering provider can order it, so let's say even your primary care provider, your physician, your normal doctor that you go to see, if they want to order the test for you, or if you do call your OB/GYN who you would like to be with and you discuss it, we can always call them as well and give more information and help them order the test. And then we can coordinate blood samples if we need to, and we will coordinate genetic counseling services as well. So there's a lot that we can do, and a lot of different partnerships that we're definitely open to exploring.
That's fantastic to hear, because obviously handholding is needed, and that mental support, depending on what the circumstances are and how results may come back, and sensitivities around how that news is delivered, is just the most important thing, isn't it?
Yes.
We do a lot of work in the fertility space around PGTA, and I know that for many of our readers, genetics is a really big factor and something that people are getting very well read on. It's amazing some of the questions that come out of the webinars that we do, and how much people know scientific reading they've done themselves. So I guess for the fertility readers out there who are wondering, either at this stage of being anxious and newly pregnant, or obviously very hopeful to be there soon, is if you get a positive pregnancy following IVF with PGTA, for example, do you think that the Luna testing is still worthwhile, and why?
Yeah, so the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists always advises that follow-up testing should happen, just to be certain, even if PGTA has occurred. So false positives and false negatives can occur, obviously, with PGTA testing. And so I think it just gives people such peace of mind to continue knowing that that their pregnancy and their fetus is going well. Especially with something like the Luna prenatal test, it's non-invasive, there's no risk, you just give a blood sample. And so it seems almost like a no-brainer that somebody would just say, great, with a blood sample, I'll just have even more confirmation or reassurance that my pregnancy is going well, my fetus is healthy, especially for people who have gone through IVF and have put in so much time and energy into this pregnancy. I think anybody who can have more confirmation probably feels better.
And we see this a lot as well in the fertility community, that anxiety, waiting to see whether your HCG levels are rising at the rate that they should be, following other people's stories, whether it's on Instagram or whatever. It can be very conflicting and confusing. And so to be able to have tests such as Luna, or opportunities to just get that reassurance that things are progressing the way that you would like them to be progressing, I guess is just more information for you to have, isn't it?
That's right. And I think, again, the earlier the better. Everybody wants to know as early as possible. I think first trimester, for anybody who has had children, whether that's IVF or not, you're kind of in this no man's land, no woman's land, right? Where you're just waiting, and statistics, you understand what the outcomes could be. And it can be a very lonely, very agonizing time. And I think we feel very comfortable and excited that we can help reduce that by being able to know information earlier.
Absolutely. I think it's incredible. And are there any initiatives or exciting work that Luna's doing into next year and beyond that you want to share with us?
Yeah, so the Luna Genetics team never stops moving or thinking or trying. And so the next focus for our company is really twofold. And then, of course, there's even more stuff that we have on the books. But in the next 6 to 12 months, we're really focusing on increasing our trophoblast recovery. So trophoblasts are those single fetal cells that are floating in maternal blood. To give you an idea, there can be, somewhere between 10 trophoblasts in 6 billion maternal cells. So it's hard to find them. But we are trying to figure out how to do that better. And we usually find somewhere between, five cells is where we feel very comfortable with the results that we can deliver. So if we can get 5 cells every single time we do this test, we will feel really wonderful. And so we're doing trophoblast recovery. And the second thing that we're really looking into is monogenic testing. So what most NIPT testing and what our test does as well is all testing for chromosomal abnormalities. So on the 22 pairs of autosomes and sex chromosomes X and Y. And then monogenic testing really tests for inheritance of single gene mutations from our parents. So now that we have full DNA, we do have the raw material to be able to go into this very easily. We have tested it with another group, and so we can do it. It's now just a question of how we commercialize that, how we figure out the best processes to be able to deliver that. So that's really those 2 things are really the next big things that we're working on, as well as de novo point mutations. So those are even crazier than the single gene mutations because they kind of have no rhyme or reason. It's not that you inherit it from a parent or both parents. They just kind of happen, and they're harder to find because you don't know what you're looking for. With single gene mutations that we inherit from our parents, we know what we're looking for on the genome. De novo point mutations, we don't. So harder to find, but those are really the areas that we're going for, with trophoblast recovery and monogenic testing really being the focus of this next year.
Mm-hmm. Exciting. It's incredible the way that the science is moving.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
In terms of going for a more premium test, I know that the value of the test is $1,900, but you're currently offering discounted pricing. So for anyone who is interested in finding out more, I highly suggest you speak to the team. We're linking up the details here. You can see the details on the screen. Please go and speak to Laura and the team, who are more than happy to give you personalized advice, hold your hand, talk you through options, see where you're at and how they can help you. So it's definitely worth a conversation. And thank you so much for sharing today, Laura.
Thank you so much for having me.